Hello and welcome back to another episode of Her Side of the Ruck. I'm Tash.
I'm Bernice.
And we're not pundits.
We are just two women who know what a ruck is.
Well, this weekend we saw the URC final. Leinster took on the Vodacom Bulls, and Leinster, well, they came out on top. It is their first URC title. They are champions for the 24-25 season. We will be discussing the final and all of the action off the pitch on this episode of Her Side of the Ruck. But before we get into that, the URC final wasn't the only final that happened on Saturday the 14th of June. There was also the Gallagher Prem final that took place at the Allianz Stadium in Twickenham between Bath Rugby and Leicester Tigers. Bath Rugby won 23-21. It was a tight game. I was there. On my end, disappointed that Leicester didn't get the win, but Bath have been the most consistent team throughout the Gallagher Prem this season. They've done the treble, which is a fantastic achievement for any rugby club in England to achieve. So congratulations to Bath Rugby. But now on to the URC, which is what this pod is all about. Leinster, Bernice, they've done it. They've cracked the code.
They did, and I think they've answered some of our questions that
Absolutely.
we had over the last few weeks. Massive congrats to Leinster. I think on Saturday it just felt like they made a conscious decision. They are going to take the trophy this year.
Absolutely.
And I think it was, from a neutral point of view, it was a little bit of a disappointing final. I also watched the Gallagher Prem final between Leicester and Bath, and the first half wasn't great, but the second half was such a great game to watch. And I think you and I spoke a lot about certain factors that we think are going to play a role in the Leinster match and the Bulls match, and kind of talking about how both teams would be very much up for the match and up for the final, seeing the history of both teams. And it wasn't that blockbuster final that I expected.
No.
Even though I think Leinster fans would be very, very happy with the
Yeah.
performance and with the outcome. I think just like from a neutral's point of view, it wasn't the final that I pictured. I pictured something similar to the Sharks versus Munster match, not extra
Mm.
time necessarily, but please no extra time. But yeah, just a tight match on that end. I don't know what you made of that final.
Well, I looked at the stats, obviously, in our last episode, thinking that, but I predicted that Bulls were going to try and scrum and get loads of scrum penalties. And Leinster tore them apart in the scrum. Bulls
Yeah.
just looked like they weren't there. They felt like they were probably a shell of themselves. And I think a lot of the reception that fans have said online, whether they're a Bulls fan or not, is that I think if you're a Leinster fan, you are obviously incredibly happy and you should be. Your team did
Mhm.
a great job and played like they did for the whole season. Like they put the foot on the neck of the Bulls and didn't let the Bulls come back at all, but they weren't good enough to come back. And the energy that you saw from the Vodacom Bulls in last year's final against Glasgow Warriors at Loftus was not there this year round. And it's just like, why? And a lot of, so I saw a comment on TikTok that said Bulls got off at the changeover in Egypt or in Dubai or wherever they had their layover from South Africa
Mhm.
to Ireland. So yeah, it just seemed that the Bulls didn't turn up to play, but Leinster did. Leinster were as class
Mhm.
as they normally are. And I think a lot of Leinster fans were waiting with bated breath for this final because they had had 5 years of where things hadn't
Mhm.
gone the way that they thought it would. But this year it did. And it was so calm and collected and composed. Like you're 19-0 up at half time. Brilliant. But they don't get overly excited. And okay, Bulls score a try, but it was an opportunist try. But Bulls don't create any action beyond
Mhm.
that one try, really. Leinster destroy them at the scrum, which is awesome
Yeah.
for Ireland. And they've really shown that they're like, well, there's a reason we're going on the tour to Australia in the
Mhm.
summer. So tore them apart, kind of picked their game to pieces, but Leinster outclassed the Bulls. That's it. That's simply it. But the Bulls also didn't turn up, and it
Yeah.
wasn't the final that neutrals wanted to see.
No, definitely. And I think it just seemed like Leinster was so switched
Mm.
on Saturday. Like they were switched on, they were ready for the match, and they came out guns blazing, just like we said in the podcast. But we expected it from both teams, just seeing like how big the occasion is. And yeah, I also think there's a little pattern that's starting to develop in the URC. So the first URC was in a home a home team that won, and then the last 2 years were away teams. Now it's a home team again. So we'll see kind of how this pattern continues. But I think it was a very good match on Leinster's end. If you watched the Investec Champions Cup finals that Leinster were in, they would be up like 25-7 half time, and then the other team would come back and they'd end up
Mm,
losing the match. Whereas
mm.
this time around, it really seemed like they just made a conscious decision and said, we are not losing this match. Like, this is our year. We want the trophy very badly. And they just like, they pitched up. And that's what you'd expect from both teams. But yeah, I just think very disappointing match on the Bulls end of things. It seemed like things weren't really going their way. Yeah, the game plan didn't work for them. They also like pick and drive, and then also didn't adapt in the match. So yeah, it was disappointing to see, but I think Leinster, we did say, but the two most consistent teams were in the final.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I just like massive kudos to Leinster. I think they very, very well deserved win on their end of things.
And now they've got one trophy under their belt. Who knows what they're going to do? Because I think for them, it was
Mhm.
that mental block to get over
Mm,
the line in a final or even just get to a final in the URC. Because yes, they got to a European final and lost to Toulouse, which I think they did. It carried a lot of heartbreak for the players and I think for the community that supports them. But this time, all of that tension and drama didn't seem to be around Leinster. It's like they'd
mm,
taken a deep breath and gone, lads,
mm,
we can do this. As you said earlier,
mm,
Bernice, this is our time. As Bulls didn't come with that mentality. And as you said, when they played against the Sharks in the semi-finals, you saw some ridiculously awesome line breaks, some worldy of tries, but also scrumming really hard, really determined. It was a very physical battle in the breakdown.
mm,
You didn't see much of that in the final
mm.
at the weekend, and Leinster were just way better than the Bulls, and quite frankly, deserved to win. Absolutely deserved to win.
Definitely. And I think the things that usually work for the Bulls didn't work on Saturday. So their scrums, like you mentioned, and the physicality end of things. Leinster was just up for every single thing. Like you can see they came prepared and they were just ready. But I think also on the Bulls end of things, I was quite surprised with the performance. I feel like throughout the season they were very consistent, but it felt to me like, they were very like linear. It wasn't like very good, very bad, very good, very bad, their
Mm,
performances. It was like good performances. They just build on every week's performance. Whereas Saturday, it felt like this was kind of the worst performance of the season for them. And I think that's also why we called it to be such a close match, based
absolutely.
off like all the stats and how the Bulls played in the previous games. We just thought like, okay, this is going to be such a great final. Disappointing, but like you said, Leinster very, very well deserved.
I think it's a mentality thing as well, because last year in the final, the Bulls had 55,000 people at Loftus that were all behind them. This year, there were a couple of people from South Africa that I'd seen who had made the journey. And if you were one of those people and you were there, let us know in the comments section. Tell us how you feel because we want to hear your reactions. But if I'd made that journey, inevitably you'd feel very disappointed because, as you said, comparing it to the Gallagher Prem, in the Gallagher Prem, Bath Rugby were up 27 at one point, which was, I thought the game was over by that point for Leicester, which was very disappointing for me. But they came back, and to score 3 tries in a final is immense.
Mhm.
So it was just the tiny, teeny, tiny margins. And yeah, I'm disappointed about that game. But ultimately, I'm proud of the team because they really pushed it. I'd be interested to know if Bulls are like, I'm still really proud of our performance, or if they thought, no, the boys didn't do well enough, and well done to Leinster because they did. And they put the
Mhm.
foot on the throat and went, this is what we're going to do. Sam Prendergast stepped up his game as well. Josh Van der Fleer was as good as normal. So was James Lowe. And even though they
Mhm.
didn't have James Gibson Park because he pulled out late, that didn't matter
Yeah.
because they were
Mhm.
just so good and so consistent. But one thing I want to talk about is Geordie Barrett's try, that little
Oh, yeah.
footballing moment. And he kind of kicks it once, kicks it twice. And you know they're going to score because it's not just him running in support. You've also got
Mm.
Tommy O'Brien running in support. But Tommy kind of edges slightly above, just slightly past Geordie. But then Tommy goes, no one's around us. I'm going to let you score, mate, because you've done all the hard work. And I thought, that's really nice. That's such a
Yeah.
nice moment, but what a phenomenal try.
No, brilliant try. And I just think Geordie Barrett has been outstanding for Leinster throughout the season. And so was Archie Snyman. I think he won Players Player Award of the season. And I can see why. You can just see also after the match, the players love him. They just like it also seems like there's such a good connection in the team. They're playing
Mm.
for each other. So it seems like Leinster is at a really good place. And I mean, it shows obviously they won the URC, but I just think Leinster was at a really good place this season.
Absolutely. The most consistent team went on to win. So, congratulations to Leinster Rugby on being URC champions for 24-25. We're going to talk a bit more about the big trophy that is the URC trophy now. The URC posted some interesting graphics that we're going to share with you. And I know firsthand how big this trophy is. It's absolutely massive. Now, I'd say I'm probably about medium height for a woman, 5'6". I'm
Hmm.
fairly strong. Used to go to the gym, like I can lift weights and stuff. But
Yeah.
flipping heck, lifting that trophy is just it's another world. And I remember last year when Glasgow won, and you could see some of the players, they were probably a bit tipsy by that point, but they were struggling to hold it above their heads. And these guys bench like ridiculous numbers, squat ridiculous numbers, but you're just thinking, the trophy, it's so heavy. So we've got a couple of bits of info about it. The trophy's official name is the Array. I've got George Horn just here holding it. I'll put the graphic on the screen. Another one, we've got the Stormers drinking out from the year that they won it. The trophy holds 25 pints of beer, and we did see there was a bit of Leinster drinking it out in the changing rooms, which is content that we absolutely love to see. It's apparently the heaviest trophy in club rugby at 20 kilos. And with that, just seeing RG Simon in this picture, he's won it both with Munster and with Leinster. That is an interesting fact there, which I didn't know until just now. And
Hmm.
Champions is etched in 5 languages around the trophy, which is fantastic because there's 5 countries that play in the URC. I thought those were all very interesting stats, but crikey, yeah, that trophy is heavy. It's really heavy.
Yeah, Tash, because you worked at Glasgow the year that they won the trophy, so you obviously know firsthand what the trophy looks like, the look and feel of it. But I think the funny thing for me was I saw a picture when Craig Casey held the trophy, and like that thing is as big as Craig Casey. So it was in the year
It's
that Munster
massive.
won, and it's truly massive. And I love that the URC posted those interesting little facts about the URC because I never knew they'd those small little, it almost looks like small dots were actually 5 different languages that's written
Mm.
champions. And I just think like the attention to detail on the URC is so amazing. So finding out more about it, I mean, 20 kilos is insane.
I
Like
know.
those, some of those players carry it around as if it's nothing. So when I heard it was 20 kilos, I was like, that is insane.
And I remember story time now. So when the Glasgow Warriors flew back from Pretoria, they had a couple of different flights and stuff, and they arrived back into Glasgow Airport. I was there with some of my colleagues at the time, and basically, there's so many different regulations about taking the trophy around with you. So it's in this massive black protective case, and then you've got another case that's got all the polishing equipment in it. All fine and dandy. I decided to wear white trousers, which was a bad idea, and have a black polish. So there was my trousers. There's a picture of me with a black stain on my trousers because I'd carried the trophy and I'd had to like hook it up with my knee because it's so heavy. And only little there was only
Like
little me carrying it.
best black stain ever.
And I oh, worth it, absolutely worth it. But then we were like, move the podium's also pretty heavy. So then just moving that around. There was me and my colleague Ellie, who's another young woman. So we were there just trying to haul this massive kit around the airport. Eventually we got it all set up and you can plug it in. It's got some lights around the bottom. But yeah, it was great because we wanted to have the trophy there on the arrival. Yeah, but the trophy is massive. It's so big. 25 pints as well. I'm not sure what would happen to me if I drank 25 pints.
Yeah, I feel like that to them is like round one. Like they just like, okay, cool, round one, let's go. Then they're all warmed up and ready for the next round. No, that's insane. I also saw 25 pints and I was like, no wonder it makes them so happy. They
I
just keep
wonder
pouring pints in and send it around.
I wonder what they put as pints in the trophy. Is it going to be
Yeah,
beer?
pints.
Is it going to be bubbly? What is it? I don't know. I don't know. We'll never know. But I love seeing all the celebrations photos. I mean, I struggled to look at Bath celebration photos after they won. But however, but for Leinster playing in a different league, it's good for them. They absolutely deserve it. There's a reason why they can put out a C, B, and A team. And look, same with Bath. It took them 29 years to win the Gallagher Prem again since they last won it. It's taken Leinster since the rebrand, since like the URC rebranded from the Pro 14 about 4 or 5 years ago. This is the first time they have won the league since the
Mm,
rebrand. And
mm.
given their caliber of players, it's about time. But congratulations to Leinster. Enjoy the celebrations. If you're a Leinster fan, please let us know how you're feeling in the comments or on our socials because we'd love to hear it. And have you been thinking it's a long time coming? Were you waiting with bated breath, or did you know that your team are always going to get over the line? We want to hear it. Moving on to our moment of the week. We did pick one from the obviously the URC grand final, and we mentioned Geordie Barrett earlier, and he is part of our moment of the week. And he went over to a fan who was clearly elated, absolutely
Mm.
elated that her team won the URC. And Geordie Barrett just goes over, signs a lot of stuff, interacts with all the fans, and I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can have a look. But the reactions from this supporter are absolutely priceless. And look, that's what rugby's all about. And I just thought it was a lovely moment. Bernice, what are your thoughts?
No, I just loved it. And that's what I was about to say. That is what rugby is all about. And I love when teams make time for the fans. So I know it was finals and there was a lot of things going on and a lot of celebrations to be had. But the fact that they still made time to actually celebrate with the fans as well, because people come in and week out and they pay the money to come see the teams and to watch the teams play. And people are massive fans and they encourage you through the highs and the lows. And they are the ones that are there throughout the season. So I just love when players actually make time for fans. Even I know sometimes it is difficult when you do lose a match or so,
Of
then
course.
it's tough. And we also know that they are human, but when you do win and you are feeling up for it and you make time for the fans, like it really makes their day. And I think for that fan made the whole year. So
Mm.
I'm really happy to see things like that. So special.
It's the unique offering that rugby does. It's not just about what happens on the pitch, it's all the community elements after. So, yeah, that was our moment of the week. We're going to take a brief break now, but we'll be back in a minute and we will be discussing our weekly segments of red card, yellow card, penalty, and giving our rugby confessions. This week is a funny story, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to Her Side of the Ruck. We are moving on to our weekly segments, red card, yellow card, penalty, and rugby confessions. But we are going to start with making a verdict in the judge and jury of Tash and Bernice. Bernice, what have we decided to make a verdict on this week?
So today we're making a verdict on fans starting fights in the comment section on socials. So to me, I don't think it's it's anything more. I just think it's a rugby incident. I don't think
Mm,
penalty, yellow card. I don't think it needs to be upgraded. When I open a comment section and I read the comments, I think it's so entertaining. And I think Tash and I have also said that we think that Leinster and Bulls fans are probably the most outspoken fan bases in the URC. And over the last few days, we pushed a lot of content on the finals. And when everyone would just like drop a bomb in the comment section, and then immediately like the reactions start, and you'll just see like one after the other. And to us, it's so entertaining because we had stats and we had our thoughts ready, and to read it was just so funny. So to me, it's a rugby incident. I don't think it's anything more. But the only time when I would differ from my decision is when you say women shouldn't be talking about rugby or women shouldn't be talking about sports. Then it's straight red, heavy suspension. Tash and I's nails are saying what we feel,
Red.
and there's like no mitigation. Like, don't do that. Don't be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that guy. To divert slightly, if you are a content creator and you're talking about something that you really care about, as long as it's not hurting other people, just keep doing what you're doing because 99.9% of people are watching you because they love your content as well. So I push aside comments like that. I think we both laughed when we saw that comment on our video. We were like, "Wow, it didn't take very long, did it, for someone to come into the comments and say something like that?" But generally, the reason we're making a verdict on this is because obviously Leinster and Bulls fans have kind of been back and forth at it with the URC final this weekend. I've seen it as well pre and post match with the Gallagher Prem final as well, with fans kind of going back and forth in the comment sections. And for me, it's just a rugby incident as well. I don't think there's any harm in it. If anything, it's entertaining. It adds to the atmosphere, the build up, and even kind of like the high of being at the match and then kind of coming down. It still keeps the conversation going. And rugby can only improve from having these comments and debates and comment in on social media, in comment sections on people's videos. For me, it's an issue when people punch below the belt and it becomes too personal, and it's not about the comments that they've made, it's about who they are as an individual, and that's when that I don't stand for it. None of that. But in terms of talking about the game and decisions that were happening, I think it's funny. I like to engage with it. It's great for our engagements, and yeah, keep it coming. I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, and I think so funny because Tash and I also made our predictions on the finals last week. And as we said, we pushed a lot of content. And obviously, after people have watched the game, they remembered, oh, yeah, those were their predictions. So let's head on over to their page again and just remind them that it didn't really go their way. So I think that is so funny. And yeah, just like we love the engagement.
I love the engagement. You're paying us in likes and subscriptions and all that kind of jazz, but also paying us by living in your head rent free. So may it continue. But just a rugby incident for both of us, nothing much harsher than that, unless it's personal and it goes below the belt, and then you see our nails, it would be a red. Okay, moving on to our rugby confessions for the week. It is story time with Natasha Coyle because I was at Twickenham at the weekend and a very interesting thing happened post match. Now, let me paint the picture for you. You might not be able to believe it, but it was a beautiful sunny day in England and Twickenham was absolutely buzzing in and around the stadium. There were over 80,000 people there to watch the Gallagher Prem. Okay, Leicester didn't win, the team that I support, but it was still a great day out. After full time, me and my family headed back into Twickenham town. We went on the high street, just got a couple of drinks and stuff, and then we grabbed some dinner at a lovely Italian restaurant. And it felt like I was on a beautiful European summer with the bifold windows pushed back, nice gentle breeze coming into the restaurant, lovely looking, smelling, and delicious tasting food all around me. And the waitress brings over my bowl of pasta. I'm ready to tuck in, fork in hand, diving in, lift up the piece of pasta in my mouth, and unfortunately, I turn this way towards the window. And what do I see? I see a bollock naked man cycling past down Twickenham High Street. What? That's not what I was
No
expecting.
way.
Uh,
And
Like,
you were probably looking around for other people to confirm, like, did that just happen?
yeah. I looked around to my family and I was like, "Did you just yeah?" And they were like, "Yep, we did." And the other fans all kind
Yeah.
of looked at us as well. We were like, "Yep, that just happened." What I'm curious to know is the context behind that individual. Are they a rugby fan? And if they are, and you know this person and you know that they did this, we'd love to hear the context. So please do let us know. Or if you are that person and you feel bold enough to reveal yourself, then we'd also love to know. I'd also be curious to see how many other people in Twickenham saw this man cycling completely naked on a bicycle, just another world. But you can't do that in the UK. You can't indecently expose yourself, which basically means you can't go around the general public being completely naked like this individual was. So, yeah, curious to know the context and curious to know how long it took him to get stopped by the police because that was not a view I was expecting to see, and probably not a view I would like to see again. But it was a I had to turn my attention back to the delicious food in front of me at that point. But yeah, definitely not a experience or review that I thought was going to happen on Prem Rugby Day.
No, I can imagine, and we'd love to hear the backstory about what happened. I just think that. If you are that guy or if you know him, please let us know. Maybe there were other people in the same restaurant that also saw him, and then we'll just get a bunch of comments confirming, no, we did see that guy, or he's fairly safe. So that would be great. I think that's such a unique story. I haven't like heard anything like that in South Africa. We are like a bit crazy, so it probably has happened somewhere in the country. But I think something that happens over like rugby weekends is pitch invaders. So
Mm,
it's not always a thing, but sometimes, you get your like occasional pitch invader, like once in a blue moon. Usually with Springbok matches, it happens less, and there's like one person on the pitch and they get caught and people like stop doing it. But last year, the Springboks hosted Argentina and Bombela, and they were like 20 pitch invaders, like three at a time. It was very chaotic, like it's so crazy. And then this one pitch invader, he like took a jog, and then this one under 20 player tackled him lights out. So he was wheeled off the field. He went to hospital. And then I don't know if it was like the same evening or the next morning, he woke up and the first thing he wanted to know was, where's my beer? So that is probably the thing that's most like similar to yours, or something that also like crazy story that happened at a rugby match, but it's definitely very unique.
Oh, first of all, commitment to the sesh. Second of all, if you've been tackled by an under 20 Springbok who may go on to be a Springbok player, well, that is a story and a half to tell people, isn't it? Wow. But yeah, crazy. I mean, rugby, it brings out unique sides in people, doesn't it? But if you love it, if you hate it, it's just part of the game. And it's something that adds to the atmosphere, whether it creates a pleasant view or not. And in my case, it was definitely something that is now scarred into my brain, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's imprinted there.
But finals, international matches, they always bring out the energy in rugby fans, and you love it or you hate it. Okay, before we end this episode, we are just going to talk a bit about some of the fantastic international rugby that is happening this summer, kicking off with the British and Irish Lions in their practice test match against the Los Pumas, the Argentinians who are playing in Dublin this weekend. Bernice, could you explain what the British and Irish Lions are for people who do not know what they are?
Yeah, so if you're not too sure, the British and Irish Lions tour the Southern Hemisphere sides once every 4 years. So this year it's Australia. Next time around, which would be in 2029, will be the All Blacks. And then in 2032, it will be South African Springboks again. So this is a very unique and a very big experience for rugby fans. It's a once in a lifetime experience, and for players as well. Like this is something that you dream of
Hmm.
if you are in the Northern Hemisphere. So yeah, definitely very excited for that. And I'm also very excited to see what team Andy Farrell is going to put out there for the first match and also the coming matches against the Australian clubs. I'm excited to see what combinations he'll put out there. He'll probably try a different team every week with different combinations every week. And then to see, and obviously you want to settle with a team going into the Australian test. But yeah, very, very excited about this.
Yep, super excited. There are lots of fantastic players who have been selected for that squad, and we cannot wait to see them in action over the coming weeks and months. That is not the only exciting international rugby that is happening this summer. We have the Women's Rugby World Cup that is approaching thick and fast, being played on English soil, and I am super excited to see if the Red Roses can take the championship title away from the Black Ferns after the New Zealanders won the title on home soil in the last Women's Rugby World Cup. That is going to be something we'll be discussing on later episodes, but something really exciting to happen in England, and where women's rugby is going, the trajectory, it is just climbing like a mountain. So excited to see where that goes, and looking forward to some of the international fixtures. Can some of the other nations upset the top teams of England and New Zealand? We will see in the coming weeks and months. We also have some other fantastic international summer tours in the men's game, which we'll also be discussing on later episodes in the pod. But for now, thank you so much for watching another episode of Her Side of the Ruck. If you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up. You can follow us on our socials. All the links are below in the description. You can follow both Bernice and myself, and you can also follow Her Side of the Ruck for regular updates and other social media content. Plus, if you want to hear more from us, give us a subscription. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Big congratulations to Leinster Rugby, who are winners of the United Rugby Championship for the 24-25 season. But for now, I'm Tash, saying goodbye and signing off from the UK.
I'm Bernice and I'm signing off from South Africa.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.